So this has been a marvelous process. And I like to say 50 years in the making, 3 years in the writing, one day at a time.
Hey everyone, and welcome. I am Morgan Giss McDonald, founder, CEO of Paper Raven Books, and I have with us today a super special guest who is launching his book. Now, this guest is internationally renowned speaker, serial entrepreneur. He's author and coach of 7 EY Entrepreneur of the Year awards and over 100 Inc. 500 award winners. This man knows his stuff, and he's written about it in this book called People, Time, and Money: How Successful Entrepreneurs Overcome the Challenges of Managing. Rich Rusikoff, thank you so much for being here.
It is my pleasure. It's a treat having the opportunity to share and to answer the questions you have for me today.
This is a phenomenal book. I feel like, Rich, you have just brought into this book so much of the wisdom and lessons learned and experience that you've gained over years and years of coaching extremely successful entrepreneurs. And I'm curious, Rich, who did you have in mind when you were writing this book? And can you give us a little bit of insight of how this book came to be and who it's for?
Yes. About 3 years ago, I decided to write a daily post called Food for Thought. And when I made the decision, I decided I was going to write about whatever I wanted to write about on any given day. So I'll write lessons learned, I'll write stories and events that have touched me, what clients are doing in the marketplace to do today and challenges they have. I'll write a column on cooking and how to cook something like a Peking duck. I'll write about events from my childhood that helped shape me, the people that I love. And so it can be whatever I want, which is what I think makes it so easy for me to write. And on any given day, a post is likely to touch someone on my community list of Food for Thought that I'll receive response from them and how that post impacted. I see myself as the CEO, Chief Encouragement Officer. And I want to be able to share things with people to lift them up and to bring out their best self.
That is so good. Thank you, Rich. And what about now? I mean, you said you've been writing the Food for Thought posts for 3 years. Why now? Why do you feel like the world is ready for people, time, and money?
Well, first of all, I was ready to put it together. And secondly, I've seen on a day-to-day basis how the posts I've written have resonated with people. And it has given me an opportunity to share what I've learned from my own businesses, from my own experiences, and every day as a coach, I learn from my clients, and I'm able to share that with people. Now, today's post was a tribute to my lovely wife and my sister. My wife's birthday is Sunday, my sister's birthday was May 23rd. And I wrote about how important and inspiring both of those wonderful ladies have been in my life. That's going to touch some people. Whereas yesterday, I wrote a response to a client that said, I want to have a sexy culture for my business. And I sat down and I came up with 39 things that would lead to a sexy culture, from psychic income, taking care of people, letting them be heard, keeping people in the loop, getting feedback, reaching out to clients, being able to put together incentive programs that award performance that are easy to understand. So I went back in my mind to what are the clients that I work with doing that resonates and makes that? Since then, I've thought of a few more things. So this is ultimately going to become a checklist. So these things stimulate me every day to write about something.
Yeah, and what I love is that there's a breadth here that you bring to both food for thought, the continuing column, as well as, I mean, the People, Time, and Money book is almost like a distillation or a pulling out of the pearls, maybe, that would you say are maybe most applicable to people who are running a business, growing a business, starting a business? Do you feel like that's a lot of the messaging that you ended up pulling inside of the book?
If there's an 80-20 rule, that would be our 80-20 rule. And much to my surprise, with our first version of the book and with my writing, I find that the personal stories resonate as much or more sometimes than the how-tos. So it's a nice mix. It's a good salad, it's a good soup, it's a mix of various things. And the idea of the title, People, Time, and Money, came about from a client I worked with many years ago. He called me on the phone one night and he said, Rich, and this is 11 o'clock at night, he said, Rich, what am I doing wrong? And we talked, and he started a business, and he started it, and he got a little tired of it, and he went to a second business, and he got a little tired of it, and he went into the third, and he thought they all had synergism. But he left people to manage them who were in a comfort zone, but they weren't entrepreneurial. So he had the wrong people, and that's the people side. And the time, he was kind of like a mama bird with 4 little birds saying, feed me, feed me, feed me. And wherever he was in one place, he wasn't in another place. And instead of being able to be proactive, he was reactive. In terms of the money, he had all sorts of assumptions on what the businesses would generate. And they were not correct. So the one successful business was paying for the other 2. And that's why he was miserable. He didn't have the right people. He didn't have the right focus for his time. And he wasn't spending his money properly. And he had to make a decision of what to do. So that was the inspiration for People, Time, and Money, because you really have to have the right people. You have to put your time and energy where it's going to have the most impact. And you have to know how to manage money to be successful. In addition, in the book, the stories are success stories and strategy stories and what people have done that have made a huge difference in the success of their business. And it's just wonderful to be able to share them.
Well, folks, if y'all are watching, listening, and you're like, that's the kind of book that I need in my life right now, the good news is, in celebration of the book launch, we actually have a promotion going on. You can grab the ebook version for free today. So if you go to paperravenbooks.com/people, time, and money, all one word, and that'll be linked up next to the video here, paperravenbooks.com/people, time, and money. That'll take you over to Amazon. You can grab a free copy of the ebook, download it to your Kindle, read it this weekend. The physical book's also there if you prefer that version of the book. We just want to get this book out to as many people as possible. So if you have an entrepreneur friend or someone who's interested in these kinds of success and strategy stories from someone who's really lived, this life of coaching hundreds of people through this kind of journey, tag them. Share this video with them so they can also grab a free copy, paperravenbooks.com/people, time, and money. And Rich, You had an interesting writing process too, because as you've mentioned, it was a column, food for thought, which is still going on. So I imagine you're already thinking about the next book, as we authors tend to do. But what was that writing process like for you to take the individual columns and package them together into a single book?
Well, when we put these together, and I've been doing this for 3 years, and I write 5 posts a week. That's a lot of material and nuggets and ideas. And the beautiful thing, I think, especially for entrepreneurs, there's something magic about 500 words. And I've learned how to craft a message in 500 words that tells the story, has impact, stays on focus with the takeaway. And then we realized there's a collection of these. So this is version 2. There'll be a version 3, and there's a version 4 coming. And because I don't know what I'm going to write about next week, but I know Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, I'm going to write a post. And Friday, I'm going to go back to posts and write a best of food for thought and take a post I wrote and make it better. So this has been a marvelous process. And I like to say 50 years in the making, 3 years in the writing, 1 day at a time.
I just want to say that again for people to really hear. 50 years in the making, 3 years in the writing, 1 day at a time. And what you just gave us, Rich, is actually like a brilliant formula for developing ideas over a period of time where you've committed yourself to write 500 words a day. And then at the end of the week, you sort of slid right over this, but I think it's critical. At the end of the week, going back and saying best of, what's the best of? And I'm going to pull that writing piece and polish it up and make it even better. Are you doing that every single week, Rich?
Absolutely. And I want to share something for would-be writers. I've had people say to me, man, are you disciplined? I'm not disciplined. I'm committed. I do things in my life because of commitment. And I find the people that are most successful do things because of commitment. I believe discipline is overrated. Commitment is undervalued. But if you're committed to something, that means you're committed to doing it, or it's not really a commitment. So that's why it happens, and it's become something I love to do. And you know you love to do something. While you're doing it, time stands still. And that's what's happened to me over the course of the 3 years in writing. And I've made a commitment to writing. Now, the second half of the year, I'm going to write a business fable. And I'm going to write it about an entrepreneur I worked with and how he grew his business. And we're going to do a fictitious story about him sharing this with his daughter, who just graduates college and wants to be an entrepreneur. So I know I'm going to write this. And then next year, Lucy Martinez is part of our staff. She lives in France. She visited us for a week. And while she was here, I cooked for her every night. And I'm going to write a book called Our Dinners with Lucy. And that's a passion of mine, cooking. So I'll start writing posts that will go into that book. And it's about finding out what Lucy wanted to eat, preparing the menu, how to shop for the best foods, what are the best methods of cooking. For example, Lucy wanted to try my Peking duck, and there's a secret to making it right. And it's fantastic. So I want to tell the whole story, cooking with a wok, the right tools to use. And it's going to be a love story about cooking. And that's going to be the vehicle, and how simple it is to make wonderful dishes as long as you do it with tender, loving care. So this whole thing of starting to write has opened up all sorts of opportunities and creative things for this 77-year-old guy to do and keep my mind active and alive.
I love this so much. I think some of us are like, how do I get on the pre-order list for the next book, Rich? So the best thing to do is go ahead and get plugged into Rich's world. Go ahead and grab the free ebook while it's available, paperravenbooks.com/people, time, and money. We'll get you right over to Amazon to grab that free book and stay connected with Rich because he's got more coming for sure. So Rich, you just mentioned you've had, let's call it 50 plus years of being in this position or perspective maybe of coaching, encouraging, you said, chief encouraging officer, and on the ground really with people in their decision-making process, their growth process, becoming who they're meant to be. And so you've had this 50 years of experience, and now you've been through this 3-year process of writing the food for thought, turning that into a book, now launching the book. If you could go back to a younger version of Rich and offer him some encouragement or words of wisdom, what might you say to the younger version of Rich about writing books and becoming an author?
Well, I have a story about that. When I started my coaching business, I was approached by a company and they said they would ghostwrite a book for me. And I spent a lot of time with them and I shared with them what I wanted to write. And the basis of the book was how to run, buy, or sell a business for maximum profit. And I gave them all this information. And then they said to me, here's the deal. You cannot interfere with our process. You're not going to see it till it's done. And when it was done, I hated it. It wasn't my voice. So I never put it in the marketplace. What I know now is there was good stuff in it. Write it and get it right. Get it out there. I would have had a book out there of value in 1985. And I didn't. So I say, which is what I've done with my posts, write it and then get it right. Put your message out there. Start taking notes. Every day on my phone, I have an app called Notes. And one of my notes is food for thought. And anytime I get an idea, I put it in there. And then I put the essence of it in Grammarly. And I look at what I have in Grammarly and I say, I'm going to write about this post today or this subject today. So get your ideas down. Don't be afraid of it and test and see if people like it. I could not have written this 40 years ago, not just because I didn't have the knowledge, but the tools that are available today. My script is terrible. Using a typewriter did not work for me, but now with being able to write it in a laptop, being able to use spell check, being able to use Grammarly, being able to, wait a second now, where was that place and when did that happen? And instantly get the information on Google. So it's right. All these tools have been invaluable to enable me to write. Take them away from me, I might not do a post a month.
That is a great point. And it's available to all of us. Everything that you've mentioned so far, it's an app, a free app on a phone. It's a free Chrome extension, Grammarly. Search on Google is free. So I think that sometimes we hold ourselves back because we think, I'm not ready. And maybe we're at least ready for the 500 words. what I'm hearing in this conversation is like, even if you don't know the whole book and the whole journey, you're committed to the vision and you can do 500 words, especially now, especially today.
And there's one other point I want to make. I'm a storyteller. So it's easy for me to write a story. And what works is the marketplace, today's reader, give me it in 500 words or less. And being able to do that, every chapter is unique. So you can read a chapter in the middle of the book or in the beginning of the book, or flip through it and say, this looks interesting. And you get a nugget in 5 minutes.
Amazing. That's honestly exactly the kind of ongoing inspiration, encouragement that we need. I'm thinking, especially from the entrepreneur's perspective, sometimes I don't have time to sit down and read a 300-page sort of tome that might give me good strategy, but is going to leave me feeling kind of dry and maybe, that not good enough sort of feeling. Whereas, Rich, what you've given us in People, Time, and Money is that burst of story and strategy and really encouragement along the way. So I definitely want everyone, if you're here, if you're watching us, go get the copy of the book. Make sure you do it right now while you're here and while you're thinking about it. Go to paperravenbooks.com/people, time, and money, all one word. It's linked up right next to this video. Go ahead and do that now while you're here. Tag a friend, share this video with a friend. We'd love to get this book into as many people's hands as possible. Rich, any last words?
Wait, Morgan, I want to add one other thing.
Yeah.
The people that have worked with me to make this happen, we put this together in such a user-friendly way to read. There's lots of space, and 2 pages tells the story, and I'm just thrilled with the way our team put this together. And if you're looking for how do you do this, for me, it takes a village. I've got the easy part. All I have to do is write it. People like yourself help promote it. Lucy Martinez, who lives in France, has driven the process. I work with someone by the name of Gina Kenny, who edits through the book. She lives in Ireland. Rachel Weisberg, who is our executive assistant, dots the I's, touches the T's on 1,000 things. So it takes a village. And when you have that kind of support and community, it makes it all happen.
Yes, exactly. Thank you for that, Rich. And you're right. It begins as your 500 words, and then with the collective efforts of 5, 10, 15 people, it can become a book that has so much wider reach and longevity. So we're super excited to be a part of this project. I think that this is exactly what folks need right now. These stories, these strategies, this encouragement. And so thank you, Rich, for being the inspiration for all of us to come together and get behind this book. So folks, now's your chance. paperravenbooks.com/people, time, and money. Go grab a copy of this book, dive into it today or this weekend, but go ahead and get it today. And thank you, Rich. Thank you, everybody. We'll see you next time. Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.